All right. So uh, ah, uh,
Try these buttons if you dey touch them.
yes.
More.
ẹ ti bẹ̀rẹ̀ ni.
A ti fẹ́ bẹ̀rẹ̀.
ìbẹ̀rẹ̀ ti fẹ́ bẹ̀rẹ̀ náà ṣé scripting ẹ̀ ti máa bẹ̀rẹ̀.
No, a máa ṣe NFT àti test yẹn la máa ṣe, so a máa ṣe scripting náà bẹ́ẹ̀.
Will you record?
Yes, hopefully. So hopefully,
Rock myself one join the call now.
let's see if it's able to. Okay. So we are starting it now. So the question that I want to take is the
Do you have the
the
question?
test question. Yes.
Rock, why you no call join for here?
Are they here now? They watch.
Go better if you just dey here now. Carry your lappy mail, we just do one together.
So-
for here.
I did something on top phone.
So can you hear me very well? Oh, hello. Hello.
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, you can hear me now. All right, so we are going to start now. So the question I want to do,
Okay.
the question that I want to look at is number one. It says write an NFT smart contract that mints an NFT to the deployer of the smart contract only, right? And make sure it reflects on OpenSea testnet. So the following resources might help. So on the
Yes.
NFT, right? So we know that the NFT project, like NFT generally is discussed under the EIP 721 standard. The EIP 721, that is the Ethereum Improvement Proposal 721. So which means this thing, its standard is now documented in ERC 721, right? So since we've
Yes.
done EIP 20, which is the standard for token, so we already have an idea of what EIP standards or what ERCs are all about. So if you read through all of these, yes, so you are going to see like everything that happens, all the functions that we have. So this is like the interface of ERC 721. So this defines everything. So what we are going to do, so you can see that this particular one is actually very easy for us. So we are going to be leveraging on OpenZeppelin, right? So we are going to be leveraging on OpenZeppelin for this particular one. So before we go to that, what we are going to do first is to open our code.
Visual Studio Code.
So our Visual Studio Code. Then, so for this one now, I'm going to, yeah. So I'm going to, what's it called? So I'm going to create a new folder in this place. So let me create a new folder here. No, not inside voters, inside Web3Bridge. So I'm going to create a new folder. So I'm going to call it what? Let me call it W3 test. So I'm going to open this folder, right? So this is a clean slate that we want to start everything with, right? So which means that, okay, let's assume that everyone is starting from this clean slate. So we are going to be progressing from here. So if you get to a particular point where you don't understand what I'm saying, then you can always ask me about that, right? So the first thing that I'm going to do here is, so I'm going to open my terminal. So I want to initiate this. So I will press npm init-y
Inside Visual Studio Code.
in the Visual Studio terminal. So when I click on that, so it's going to generate the package.json file for me. Are we still together? I trust that we are still together, right?
Yes.
All right, thank you. So
Yes.
So after we've generated this, so the next thing is that we want to create the ADAT project. So we are going to be making use of ADAT in this one, right? So because I have installed ADAT on my system, so what I'm just going to do is npx ADAT. So npx ADAT. So when I enter that, so it asks me what do I want to do? Is it a JavaScript project or TypeScript? So I choose TypeScript.
Linux better pass Windows. Windows to the hand.
Yeah?
Linux need the hand.
Sorry, I didn't hear you. What did you say?
I said, are we still on?
Yes. So my ADAT just finished. It just finished installing. So if you should look at, let's look at the ADAX and what are those things that we have here. So this VS Code here, what we have here is just my VS Code. I usually add it to all of my folders. So this contracts, yeah. So inside this contract, that's where you put all your smart contracts, right? So we all know that. So this node modules is just all the files that you need for whatever you want to do. Then we now have scripts and tests. So these two, we'll come back to them. So in this .git ignore, all those sensitive files that you don't want to push to GitHub, so you have to specify their names under this .git ignore. Then we now have our ADAT config. So we are going to look at this later. And we have the package.json. You have the README. Of course, you can put the README to explain what's going on in the project. So in this case now, ADAT gave us this log. So this is an example of a what's it called? A smart contract, and they gave us a script. So for this one, let's look at the question again. It asks us to write a smart contract that means NFT and deploys it to the buyer and to the deployer of the smart contracts only, and make sure it reflects on OpenSea testnet. So what we are going to be using for this one is the Open Zeppelin. We all know Open Zeppelin. It's no longer new to us. So what we are going to use is the Open Zeppelin contract wizard. So if you should look at the documentation of OpenZeppelin, here we have the wizard, right? So this wizard there, you can use it to create smart contracts. Like OpenZeppelin has this feature that, okay, let's say you want to create an ERC20 token. You know, for an ERC20 token that we are already familiar with, so it requires you to what? You are going to put the name of the token, the symbol of the token. So when you put the two here, it's going to generate a smart contract for you based on that. So now what we are going to do is that for the smart for the non-fungible token, it is ERC721 that we are going to be making use of. And so the name, let us call it what? Web3Bridge NFT collection, and the symbol should be W3N. That should be the symbol, right? So we are going to, so the features, what are those features that we want to be in the smart contract? So we want it to be what? To be mintable, right? So you see that when we click on this mintable, it gives us this access control. So we want it to be that only owner should be able to mint. So this mintable should have auto incremental ID, and we are going to check enumerable and URI storage, right? So the license is MIT. So you can see that it generates this code for us. So we are still going to look into it. Now what we are going to do next is to copy this. So we are going to copy this. So this, in this place, we are just going to replace it with this. So I'm going to write this one as web3 nft.so, right? So the next thing that we are going to do is, yes, for this to work, we need to install OpenZeppelin smart contracts. So in our terminal, we will come back to our terminal. We will say npm install at OpenZeppelin /contracts, right?
Hello guys, good evening.
Good evening.
I'm sorry, I'm just joining now. Have you guys gone far?
No,
Not really.
we just use the Open Zeppelin wizard to generate this code.
OpenZeppelin wizard.
Yes.
Yes.
So if you should go to openzeppelin.com, like docs.openzeppelin.com, you are going to see this contract wizard in this place. So you are going to click on ERC721. That's the standard of the token that we want to, that's the standard of the contract we want to create. So you are going to fill in the name of the contract and the symbol, and you are going to choose these features that we have chosen. So we have mintable, that is auto increment IDs, so enumerable URI storage, and the access control should be what? Ownable.
Okay, we are clicking mintable,
Auto
and
enumerable.
URI storage. Which other thing?
That's all, yeah. So you are going to have this. Okay. So if you now have this, then you are going to install the OpenZeppelin, the npm package, so that you can see all this error that we are having here. So this one is still trying to install it.
The extension, is that what you want to talk about?
The npm package.
That okay. We've said it before.
Yes.
npm / at OpenZeppelin
At OpenZeppelin
contracts.
exactly.
That Chris, they fire this journey.
Okay, so I think it has added. So if you are still seeing this, what I usually do is I'm going to close it and open it back. So
Close the file.
I'm going to close that file and
.sql file and
yes,
open
and open it back. So you can see that it's no longer giving us an error, and we have this already. So we are not going to try too much, but let's just try to understand this code a little bit, not really much. So what we are really meant to actually understand is, okay, what's it called? The ERC721 itself, the standard itself. So after this time out, you can go to this place and read the documentation to understand, okay, what's everything that is going on. So in this case now, so we have the Web3Bridge NFT connection. So actually this, we can call it whatever we like, right? We can call this whatever we like. And yes, so this is it. We say that it is, now this one, it is inheriting 4 things. It is inheriting how many things? 4 things. So this is also telling us that what it is possible for us to have multiple inheritance. It is possible in Solidity. So now this first line here, okay, everyone knows what line 1 is, right? This one is identifying it as what? As MIT. That is, it's an open source project. Then we have this Pragma Solidity 0.8.9. So this one is telling us about the version of the compiled version of Solidity that it's going to work best with. And yeah, we now have all of this. Please, I want to check this thing if because someone is asking for the recording. I'm not sure if this one is going to work.
Please, I missed class today. What happened? Was there anything special that happened in class? Because I knew it didn't last for long.
Oh. In class, it was just let me say more of review. It's more of review.
How many hours did the class last?
We stopped around 6.
Okay, I knew it didn't last for long. Thank you.
Okay, so in this case now we are importing ERC721. We are importing the enumerable URI storage, ownable counters. So each of them, they have what? So here we are saying that this NFT collection, it inherits this, and this. Now, what does that mean? It means that the functions that are the internal functions of this is going to be accessible to us. Will be accessible to the internal functions of the ERC721 that are written by Open Zeppelin. So the internal and external. So the internal and external function is going to be open to us. So, but private functions or private, whatever is private, we'll not be able to see it. But whatever is internal and external, we'll be able to see them. And whatever is external and it has the virtual keyword, so it means that we'll be able to also override them here. We will be able to also override them here. So here now, we now have,
So,
yeah.
go ahead. Can you please like give a brief recap on that function visibility? Because when I was writing my own NFT,
Okay.
what I think that in the safe mint part, the thing was internal, and when I deployed it, I tried to call it, but it did not work until I had to change it to public.
Yeah. So
So like, can you like re-explain it again, I beg?
okay. So when we say that a function can, if a variable, let's start with variable. So variable can have 3 function scope or visibility scope, while functions can have 4. So a variable can have internal, private, and public, while functions can have internal, private, public, and what? External. So what's the difference between all of this? When you say that, let's start with private. When you say that something is private, it means that you can only access it within the context of that particular smart contract or that particular scope. It is only in
You can only access that when a contract is private, right?
when a
You can only
function is
access,
within that smart contract.
like when you are currently writing the contract, right?
Exactly.
Okay.
So you can only access it within that particular smart contract. You cannot call it from outside. You cannot inherit it. Do you get?
Yeah.
So when you say that something is public, when you say that a function is public, then it means that number one, you can call it from within the smart contract. It can be called externally by other smart contracts, and it can also be what? Inherited by the children of that smart contract. Do you get that now? So when you say internal, now internal you can access it within that smart contract. It can also be inherited by the children of that smart contract. Are you?
Okay.
So when you now say that something is external,
For the internal one,
yes,
you said you can only use it within that smart contract, and children contract that are inherited that your contract
yes,
can also implement it, right?
yes,
Which means like when the contract is deployed, out like external forces, external contract or external EOA cannot like access.
so it is not, they cannot call it, but if they inherit it, then they can access its internal functions.
Okay.
So example here is, if you look at this ERC 721 now, this is a contract, this is another one, this is another one, this is another one. Now these 4 contracts, for these 4 contracts, if they have if they have an internal function, we can access those internal functions here. We can access those internal functions here. We can access those internal functions here. So when I say that something, I think those are everything. So when I say that something is external, it means you can only access it by calling it from outside or by other smart contracts. You cannot, it cannot be accessed by what's it called? By the children, and it cannot be accessed within the smart contract.
Okay, external visibility cannot be accessed within that smart contract.
Within, yes.
And the children cannot also access it.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
When we are writing a contract, and in that contract, one of the functions we are going to use in another function, we are supposed to mark it internal.
Yes.
Like increment is a function, right?
Yes. Where's the
And
increments?
internal.
Okay. Yeah. So if you look at this one now, this bond. Okay. Look at this. We have this override here.
Yeah.
If you look at function bond internal override. Now, this. Okay. We already know what function is. Internal means that if there is another, even when we have this one, if there is another contract that is inherit what we are writing now, the contract will be able to access that function. Look at this. Those functions and state variables can only be accessed internally, that is, from within the current contract or contracts deriving from it, without using this. Do you see that? This is even explaining it to us. So internal, it means that what only. So when we have public, so they say that public functions are part of the contract interface. They are part of the contract interface and can either be called internally or via messages. So for public state variables, an automatic getter function is generated. Do you see that?
Yeah.
So another thing that you need to note here is that what public, they are part of the contract interface. So which means that if you want to create an interface for a particular contract, what are those function signatures that you use? You make use of the external and public, only external and public. And when you are writing an interface, you only write external. Any function that you are writing in the interface, you write it as what? External. Either it is external or public, you write it as external. But if you want to implement it, you can implement it as either external or public.
Okay, let me get what you are saying. If we want to write an interface now for maybe an ERC20 token or any contract, right?
Yes.
In the contract of that parent ERC20, if the thing is marked as, so we can only write interface for functions that are marked as public and external, right?
Yes.
But if we create a file and want to start writing our own interface, as we are picking the function definition, we will change it. Even if that function in the parent contract is marked as public, we must put it as external.
Yes, in the interface. Yes. So it has to be external. So now let us now look at some of the functions that we have here. So here we have using counter for counters dot counter. So this one is just we are using an interface. We are declaring the functions that we have in a particular interface to be used for something. So in this case now, we are using this counters interface for counters.counter. Then we now have a constructor. Now in this constructor, this ERC721 that we are inheriting, it has a constructor. The ERC721 that we are inheriting has a what? Constructor. So which means that it's the parameters of its constructors, we need to pass it. We need to pass it down. The parameters of its constructor, we need to pass it down. Now, this is one way in which we can pass it. That is ERC721. We are passing the parameter of its constructor down. Now, another way is that we can also say that instead of putting it here, I'm going to delete it now. I'm going to remove it. So we can say that, okay, since it's going to require name and symbol, let's now say that in this constructor here, we can say that we are going to collect name.
My own, okay, I don't see the constructor.
And symbol. Right? So we can see that the contract that we are writing now, that it should collect name and symbol. And those name and symbol, when it collects it in the constructor, it should now pass it down to this ERC721. Do we get what I just did there?
Yeah.
Okay. So we can ask in this case now another thing that you need to note here is that normally in functions we have three data locations. We have core data, memory, and storage. And for functions, it can either be memory or core data. However, for constructor, you cannot use core data in constructor. So it's either memory or storage. It's either memory or storage. The reason is constructors they run only once, and they are different from function. So you use functions. Core data, they contain function argument. So that's the reason we don't have them in the constructor. So in this case now, so this is what we have. Now we now have a function here, right? We have a function here which is the saveMint function. Now this function, it collects two parameters, the address 2 and the string, the URI, and the function, it has a modifier which is only owner. This only owner, the meaning of this only owner means that what? Only the owner. Now the owner is declared in this ownable, that is, the owner is the person that deploys the contract.
The only person.
That is the message.sender. So that's the only person that can call this particular function, right? So, and what's that thing that is happening in this function? So in this function, we say that we have token ID. Token ID is equal to token ID counter.current. You can see that we have token ID counter here. So the parameters that we are using here is for, what's it called? Is counters. So it has all the functions that we have in these counters here will be accessible here. So the dot current. So this is what we have here. So in order for us to understand it better, we can try to look at this function. So the URI, okay,
this place now.
the IPFS.
IPFS.
So if we should look at this place, let's look at you can see we have a counters library. Now in this counters library, we have a struct. Now in this struct, it has value. So it said that this variable should never be directly accessed by users of the library. Interaction must be restricted to the library's function. So yeah, normally we were told when we were doing library, when we did library, that libraries don't have a state variable. Libraries don't have a state variable, but there is a way in which they can store you can store value in the memory of an address. So in this case now, we have counter. So when you see that counters.counter, so it's referring to this particular value that we have here. That's going to be the default value, which is going to be 0. So it's storing it in the contract where we are using it. So whatever value that we are using, it is not stored in the library. Libraries are pure functions. So here we now have what function. We have current. If you want to get the current, so you see it's internal. The meaning of internal means that whatever inherits it is going to be the function will be accessible to whatever inherits it. It is view. So it means that it is using this particular variable that it is referencing, and it returns the counter dot
Is that the meaning of
value.
Is this a live session?
Yes.
Yeah. So it returns the counter dot value. So we have the increment. The increment, it increases the value by 1. The decrement, it decreases it, and reset, it sets the value back to 0. So that's what this counter here is doing. Then we have this saveMint. This saveMint should be in the so it firstly takes the current value as the token ID, then it increases it, and after that it's going to mint it. Now in this case now, it's going to mint it to the address that we provide and the token ID that we have. Then it's going to set the token URL to the token ID that we've set here and the URI. Now if you should read the question, you'd realize that in the question we were told, does anyone have the question and they can send it to the Google Meet here so we can see it easily? I don't know. The
The question.
test question, yes.
I can send it back. Maybe I need to join Abby.
Yes.
Let me jump in. But can you please just do like a 2-minute summary run through what you have done, like evaluation, like
Okay.
Of this project, Abi.
of what you are so far. So maybe running through it every 10 minutes,
Okay.
asking questions to make sure that all of us are following. Let me send it.
So currently everything that we have done is we generated the adapts, we created the what's it called? We created our file,
The
a new
contract file and
the contract file. Then
scripts.
we created the ADAX configuration,
Okay, we haven't
and
created
then
scripts yet.
we used the Open Zeppelin contract wizard to generate this ERC721 token, and that's what we are currently trying to understand before we deploy it.
The contract code.
I'm trying to join now.
Rugby,
Do you
should
have
we
the
understand them?
Yeah?
Should we understand the first part we don't do this NFT?
I see on the call.
Yeah, it's still on the call.
It's-
Okay.
You don't understand?
Hello, can you guys
Do you
hear me?
understand this thing?
I need to
I never
confirm if I'm
understand
still here.
Yeah, you know, you leave there.
Because I'm not seeing you
Yes,
now.
I can hear you.
Okay, they can hear me.
Yeah, I can hear you.
So make I sharply explain them to you. Wetin we do for
Join now. Join class also, so everybody go here. Go be like questioning.
I did here now.
And you did the class.
I don't need to join. I did hear him as in the talk. Now.
Now because of
Yes.
what?
So I'm looking for a way. Please, can someone send the test question to this as message here?
I thought you opened the question.
And my Discord is not opening.
And
I
network,
don't know what's wrong with it.
network is bad. I never use this
I
my
don't know.
laptop. Enter call.
Is the question on Discord?
No. And it's on my own private server. I just pasted it there.
I'm sending it to you on WhatsApp now. Let me
I have it on WhatsApp. My
Okay.
WhatsApp is not connected to
see.
the
But I
system.
believe concerning the NFT, she said we should create an NFT that means only to
Open
the
Zeppelin.
Only to the owner. Yes, exactly. That's where I want to emphasize.
showing on OpenSea.
And open. So it says that it must deploy to only the owner. So since it is specified that it should be to only the owner, it means that in this safe mint function, we don't need to be we don't need to collect address 2. We don't need this address 2. So we can simply remove it and say that this save mint, it should go to what? So the message the sender is now the owner is going to be MSG so in this case now the reason I'm using this MSG sender, this function here, is because if you should look at this place, you know we are importing this ownable. So let us try to understand what's going on here. So in this context, so it's telling us that what ownable is context, and it privately stores what the owner. So now this one constructor transfer ownership to message.sender. So it's going to make the message.sender the owner. So it also has the modifier function that checks owner. So it calls only owner. So function owner, view. You can use this one to get the owner. You can use this one to check the owner. Wait, where is the?
It seems you open this particular part from somewhere. Where did you open it from?
So I opened it by clicking, like I held command and I clicked on this ownable.
Okay.
So
So it take us to that file.
yes. So here we have that the owner is callable. Owner caller is not the owner. So in this case now, the owner is stored as this message.sender, so that's the reason I'm using it here. So which means that whatever, if you just pass in the URI of a particular
There's no URI.
message, the URI is like URL.
Okay.
So but for IPFS,
Is it an API?
it's not an API, it's a link. So the URI is the concatenation of the IPFS protocol and the CID of what we are going to do. So we are going to look at that when we start minting. So then we have all these other functions also, like before token transfer, you should override this. Then it's going to put all this one. So let's just all these other ones, they are not really of concern to us. We can come back to understand them better later. So now that we have our NFT contract, we have it written. So the next thing we want to do is to deploy this, right? So we are going to be making use of. So the next thing we are going to do now, before we start deploying, we are going to write script for us to deploy it. So I'm going to say what npx adat compile. So we need to compile it first
Before writing the script.
before writing the script. Now when we compile, it's going to give us the runtime, the creational bytecode, or in this case, it's going to generate what we call the type chain for us. It's going to generate what? The type chain for us. So if I should compile it now, if you should look at this place, you will see it's going to generate another file. It generates the artifact, cache, then we have this type chain types. So in this type chain types is one of the things that we are going to make use of here. So I'm going to delete what we have here. And
What are we doing with type chain types?
so I'm going to explain when we get to where we want to use it.
Okay.
So now I'm going to write the function. So the first thing that we want to do for this particular one, so you can see here also, everything that is going on here is this is just a function. So this async is just telling us that it's an asynchronous function, and the name of the function is main. So this is where the function is. So an asynchronous function is a way in which JavaScript handles multi-thread. So normally when you have a function, because everything is going on a single thread, it means that one thing has to finish before another, one process has to finish before another starts. So which means that a particular process would have to block every other. And we know that there are some processes that it's going to require time before whatever they need, the values or whatever they are going to require is going to be got. So in that case now, what asynchronous function does is that when you try to access something and what you want to access is not available, it's going to give you a promise. So when it gives you that promise, you would later then resolve that promise. You would need to await in order to resolve that promise. So when you are given that promise, it's simply telling you that if you have other things that you want to do, you can simply go and be doing those other things and come back to get your value when whatever you are looking for is done. That's the simple philosophy or the simple logic behind asynchronous functions.
Okay, I'm coming for asynchronous now. If we want to do something and that refuses to work at the moment, it means the others it means another one can run. Okay, now does that mean it can run?
Yeah, it has a way of all of them, yes, as handling them at once. So that's what they call in multi-threading.
It looks like Ajax. That's what Ajax does as well.
Okay.
You know Ajax now? asynchronous JavaScript.
You know,
Something.
the same
Exactly.
thing.
So that's what. So this main here, this is where.
Musa,
Yes.
could you explain the asynchronous function again?
Okay. So asynchronous function. In asynchronous function is just like, we have a single thread and multi-thread. Single thread simply means that when you ask computer to do this, maybe you say that you should go to this, after you have done with this, then do this, then do this, then do that. So the normal way in which computer is going to do it is that what it's going to follow the pattern in which you've set for it, and it would wait for one to complete before it starts another one, right? So that's the normal way, that's the single thread way of doing stuff. But the asynchronous way is that when it wants to get value from somewhere and what it needs to get is not available yet, right? So it's going to return a promise, it's going to give it a promise. It will give it a promise, and that promise simply means that yes, you can go and do some other things and come back to get the value when it's available. So that is what asynchronous function is basically doing.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, I can hear you. Okay, so this main is where the execution of the function is coming from. So in this place, what we've currently done is we've just imported what ethers. Now, what are we going to do? Now, this scripting, I prefer to make people to understand it as, the same as interacting with Remix. So what's the difference? The difference is, in this case, you are the one writing the code. You are the one writing the code. So you know that, of course, whenever you want to interact on a blockchain, you firstly need, accounts or signers, that, those people that can sign transactions, or, the accounts that you can make use of. So that's the first thing that we are going to get here. So we are going to say what? Const. We have an array of, so we have, number one, we have owner. I prefer to call it as what? Account 1 than address. So account 1, account 2, account 3. So this is going to give us what? It's going to destructure 4 accounts for us. So here we are going to say what? Await ethers dot get signers. So that's one. So what is happening here? These ethers here, normally, if we should run our local node, npx add that node. So it's going to generate, you can see it's generated 20 accounts for us. So those 20 accounts is what we are getting here. So in this case now, we are using just 4 out of them. So look at it, it's generated 20 accounts, and each of them has 10,000 ETH. So we can use any of these, they are all test nets. On our ADAT.
Why did we use npx adat node to get? Are we going to use all this again? Like, because when I deployed, I used only 3 accounts here. So why this many accounts? Why did you write that code?
Yeah. So it's just like in Remix also. Remix gives us up to 10 accounts. So it's not always all of them that we make use of whenever we are testing our code.
Okay.
So this one, it gives us as Remix gives us 100 ETH. This one gives us 10,000.
Okay.
So these are just, you can just choose them wherever for whatever you want to do. So that's just what this one is really for.
Okay.
Like we can access any of these as we like.
Okay.
So that's simply the meaning of this
Okay. So
line
now-
4.
So now we have owner, account 1, account 2, account 3. Can you explain this step? Like, is it related to this? Like, is it related to this?
Yes, so this owner is going to be the account 0 here. This
Okay.
account 1 is going to be account 1 here. Account 2 is going to be account 2 here. Account 3 is going to be account 3 here. So
Okay, that's how we
if
say equals to await ethers dot get signers.
get signers,
So
yes.
anything that we put inside will be the accounts that will be assigned to this
Exactly.
our contracts.
Exactly.
Okay. So now that means those accounts, they are actually randomly given to this
Yeah.
accounts here. This wallet address, this private keys, they are given. I had to talk on before.
So it's other that give
Just
us those
assigns
accounts.
No, my question is also
Any,
those contracts that I'm seeing this
private key to
Web3
any of-
NFT.
any
Where
of
we
them.
copy 'em?
What's it called? This opens the pending contract wizard.
From here. This is our. We get our
So
NFT.
It
dot-
means that
that
those contracts,
SOL
you just
file.
go there, copy them,
Yeah.
paste them, and start using them.
Yeah.
Yes.
But if you want to
define
change
what
some
we want here.
functionality, we can also do that.
Of course.
Yeah.
Okay, but now this is the standard for the as stated in the ERC documentation.
Yes.
Okay.
And
And
you
can I
add
say it is a
features
library?
It's not a library.
It's not.
It's not a library, but there is library as part of it.
And then you
Where's
can
the
add
library?
any function that you want from here.
Like these countables now, it's a library. It's a library. Counters library.
Okay, what is the difference between this library and that one?
So a library in a library is just a collection of reusable codes, and they don't have state variables. A library is a collection of reusable codes, and they don't have state variables.
Yeah, but now the only difference I can see between this one and this that wizard is the state variables and the import all of those
The
things.
wizard here,
Mhm.
this one is just, Open Zeppelin, they implement EIPs.
Mhm.
So their implementation of EIPs, they just made it that okay, based on the different features that you might be in need of. So it's generating it for you based on all of those things. So these are things that we can read the
Extension.
ERC 721 proposal and also implement the interface by ourselves. But because we don't want to reinvent the wheel, or we don't want to open ourselves for vulnerability, so that's the reason we are using the standard that is already laid out by Open Zeppelin.
Extension.
So
No, me, I get
to
my-
continue,
No, we get where the plug for it.
How many spaces?
so in the script now,
Plenty.
Just one.
so the next thing that we are going
Extension
to
on
do is that we want to get this contract that we have here, this contract that we have written here, and we want to deploy it, right? So what we are going to use when we compiled it in this place, and it gave us this type chains. Now it is the name that we have here that is going to be in our type chain. If you check the type chain, you'd see that in the contract we have, this is the name of this particular one, Web3 whatever. So that's what we are going to use in this place. So we are going to say that what const. So the name of what we want, let's just say that what Web3Bridge, Web3 NFT equals await ethers dot get contract factory. Then we are going to put the name of that contract, the name of this contract that you have here. We are going to put it here, right? Then we now say that what const. Then let's use small letter here, NFT, or let's say that's what deploy so this one will be equal to what we await it again to now be web3 nft dot deploy. Now it requires, if you look at this place, you know that it has constructor, which means that it requires two arguments, the name and the symbol. So in the name now, we are going to write the name that I want it to be. Hey, I don't know. Let me copy the name from here. So I'm simply going to. I don't
What
want
is
to
this
be
one?
repeating myself.
I don't understand.
We are the
Where
one
did you
that we
copy
used it. We are the one that set the name there before.
How? In the wizard.
Yes.
Did you pass on? Did you tell it to
This
do
is
something
it.
for you?
Name and symbol.
Okay. Are we going to get the URI ourselves too?
Yes. So the name and the symbol, so we put it there now. Then the next thing is that we want to await it dot deployed. So we want to make sure that it has what? It has deployed. Then after it has deployed, then we can say what? Console.log, it should return the address that it's deployed to. So this is one thing. Hello, do we understand it up to where we got to? Do you have any question? No question. Okay. So now we need to now start setting up our environment, because what we are currently using here is the ADAS network. So we want to deploy on the what? On the test net, which is the Goali. So I believe that the processes for doing that is well known to us. So in our ADAS configuration, where is it? In our ADAS configuration, so here we are also going to have networks, and in these networks we are going to have series of networks. So we can just say that what, one of them is going to be Goali. So for the Goali is going to require, so I don't actually need to, I'm just going to like I'm just going to copy the ADAS configuration of one I have worked on before.
What file are you copying right now?
So the ADAS configuration. So in this case now, so you can see we have the Goali, so it requires the URL and account. So in the Goali, we are going to have URL
The config dot
and
ADAS config dot
accounts. Yeah.
Okay.
So for the URL and the account, I'm going to now in my .env. Yay! I'm not supposed to share this. So I'm going to just copy this and I'm going to paste it here without
So
revealing
where are you
anything.
getting the files from? Those.
So in my .env, I have some stuff inside, right? That's where my Goali, Alchemy, private keys and everything is.
Which private key?
The private key of the account that I want to use to sign.
Your own personal account or the account that this team providing?
Your own personal account,
Personal
because you
account.
are using the Goali.
I have to type it in my own too.
npm install .env.
Is it complete like that? Like the npm install save dev. Abi?
Is that what you thought?
I say
What I like
why
actually.
you dey question me? Sha I don't know wetin I dey talk.
I'm not being not too sure. Where is it still running?
It's still on.
Look at it here now.
So
See.
okay.
Save.env.
So here we now have. So this one is just we can choose the default network here to what to add that. Now when you choose default network, it means whenever you don't specify the network, it uses the default network that is specified. Is that understood? Then we now have networks. So in the networks we have configuration for ADAT and we have for Guali. Now for ADAT, now this ADAT we are not using, we are still using the normal one for now. But we are still going to come back to it when we want to do the second part. But for the Guali, it requires the URL. Now this URL, you are going to, if you want to get the URL, you will go to alchemy.com. When you go to alchemy.com, you are going to sign up with alchemy.com. My network.
This .config.ts, you brought in some lines of codes. Like ordinarily we are supposed to type that, I guess.
Hello, can you guys still hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay.
Ordinarily we are supposed to type that, I guess, but just to make it faster you copied them. Abi?
Yes.
Okay. So how do I copy this now?
Network.
Use TP link now.
Is it going?
They go now. Where that Google Meet safe? Okay. Which this okay Google Meet. Should be a fee. Okay, now browser they use it now. Google Meet. TP link they go fine now. Which TP link? I'm on my laptop go soon off. I lie 34%. Which other place extension there for this one?
No, sir.
Yeah, Abi.
Yeah, under the bed. Between the two beds.
Okay, I go carry my charger phone.
Oh, this is not going now.
Use TP link now. TP link they go well for my side now. See now.
Okay.
Use TP link.
On the phone.
So the what's it called? So it's from Alchemy that you are going to get your Guali RPC and you are going to put it in your .env file, and yeah, you're going to have your private keys. So the account. So instead of it using,
Is it only Alchemy you can use?
you can use Alchemy and other ones too. So the account, the private keys that you have inside your .env will also be used here. So after you've set that, then here the default network here is what is ADAT. So which means that now we can now deploy this.
Where did you put
Meanwhile,
the Alchemy link? Where did you put the Alchemy link?
the Alchemy link
You said you want to copy something
in
from
.env.
Okay, it's
No, I'm not
already
copying.
inside.
It's already inside here.
Okay, so you're not showing because it's
I'm not
in
showing
there.
it. Yes.
But how are you if to say we want to set an ENV file, how do we just copy and put it inside?
Yes.
Nothing, no writing, anything.
Whatever you write, you just say that maybe if you say A equals to whatever, so you just put process.env.a. If you say B is equals to so, process.env.b, just like that. So, what next? So now this one is going to deploy our now this is going to deploy our NFT. So if I'm going to run it now, so I'm going to create a new terminal so that I can run it and you can see it. So I'm going to say npx adat run scripts / deploy .ts. So I'm now going to specify the network dash that network guali. So we await I don't trust my network this much. That's why I repeatedly am asking if you guys can still hear me, so that should in case there is a
I can hear.
glitch, I can easily know. Okay. So now it's saying that could not detect network. So maybe I'm supposed to
Abeg, sorry abeg. You get cash transfer for you?
no.
Why not? As in
Pato get.
the difficult where I take it.
I want him be saying na only Musa in come ask.
You never ask me.
Let me try this.
When Pato get money,
You no go do something. Where the money wey I get?
Pato get
The
money.
way Pato go beat you, but I no go hold am o.
Pato he go beat me.
I just dey look you say you be married man, na why I no wan beat you. Yeah, why me vex? I wan dey vex because you no fit beat your fellow man. So this is this extension plug? Musa, this extension is it plug?
Yes.
Oh no wonder this thing dey charge.
What's wrong with this one?
The network no good.
Could not detect network.
TP link you low.
TP link dey go for my own now. E go fine. Fine. Na what thank God say I go install Ubuntu. And na me know wetin I dey do I go install Ubuntu. Musa, your phone.
That link for alchemy, where exactly are you going to see it?
Just type alchemy for Google, they will
When
show
you go
you
to
their
alchemy.com,
link.
you
Mhm.
see.
You see am from there. Just na him do like say him dey charge you. Just do kpulum, he no charge again.
Yes, sir.
Sometimes I don't know what is wrong with this Manjaro. I comot charger, e begin show icon. I put am, e no show icon. I say Manjaro Ubuntu. Ubuntu don dey miscafo.
Maybe it's because
It's the
this
network.
one's. Maybe it's because of this alchemy network that is not going.
Try to put this mode. Try to put airplane mode on and off. Let me enter the link for the class. This was the link.
Please, can someone access alchemy.com over there?
Small access.
working.
It's working.
It's not okay.
Yeah.
It's not working over here.
alchemy.com.
It's not going with me. Let me even check my website.
On our TP link, not the miscareful with guys.
If they shout up and down now, I just they look at you.
It will be shout up and I know be the TP link I dey use since.
Continue the use on. Reverse the link to join the group guide.
TP link is off. You
The
can
link
just
that-
use your mobile data.
Nyamanya.
I want to know your plug very soon.
Or inter.
Your plug. Okay, reduce them for you.
Nobody's
Ah.
allowing me to join you. Who's
Someone
the
will
one?
allow you to join.
Okay. Let me beg them now.
Hello, someone is trying to join. Have you seen him?
Alchemy and Alchemy. Pilots, we are taking off. Hello? Okay. No, I should Alchemy.
Yeah. No, the problem is even that this thing here is not going.
Okay.
Maybe I'm going to set it as the default here, so I wouldn't have to write it.
So you are not seeing the screen bar. You are not seeing the people. I mean,
No, I'm
can I
seeing
show
them.
so that you can tell us what is in Alchemy? Can I show my screen?
Yeah, you can.
I beg, where I go fit take join this our meeting? I don't say I use this Google Meet. Now Google Workplace, all this one's even carry me come.
Am I? Please let me check. Am I on?
Okay, get started.
Are people seeing this? Okay, let me.
Where the link? Where the Google Meet link there? You dey WhatsApp?
Alchemy.com.
I beg, Musa, if you send the link to me for WhatsApp.
It's on
I
the
don't tell you
group.
before.
What
Say make
group?
you do something. They
Our
shout.
WhatsApp group.
Yes.
General WhatsApp group now. Okay. Is that the Alchemy?
Yeah.
Which mass sign up? Which one?
Wetin Elizabeth dey call me for again?
I say I'm gonna. Huh? I don't enter. Hello? So check your screen. Where are Google?
So
You dey share. Why is it not showing there?
Your phone was off. What happened?
Let me ask them, is this what they're saying? What are they saying?
I'm trying to call you.
I don't trust my network.
Ask them. Please, are you seeing the Alchemy website?
Hope you are fine, sure. Hope you are fine.
Let me ask them. Now, this thing, which
Hello,
thing-
can you all see the alchemy.com website?
Yeah.
What is it showing for them?
Like, what are you saying?
I'm in class right now, so I'll call you later.
Hello. What did you
So I
say?
need to move.
Like, what part of it are you saying?
The
No, this is where you are seeing. This is where you are projecting.
platform, sir.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sign in.
Take it.
Sign in, Abby.
You'll have to project. Share this tab instead.
Yeah, I'm already here already. It should be showing.
No,
Okay.
just click on this. So you don't need to click it, but just click when you click on this demo app or Rockip Steam app. So it's going to give you some list of
Should I take
keys. If you click, okay, it's
Is-
your private this thing. No?
Okay.
So when you click on it, you are going to see some. You will see the RPC, the one that has the HTTPS. So that's what you are going to copy and put in your .env. So this one now,
Let me see.
Like-
Is my screen still showing?
hmm?
Okay.
No.
My baby, my baby.
Guys, I believe that Google stuff. Try enter and you know they show how can
All
you
of these things. Should I set them up? Make your first request. View your first. Read your first Web3 app. Go need that.
Mm.
Okay, I think I created an account with them.
Okay, now I don't understand why this one is doing this way.
What's happening?
Could not detect network.
So network. Am I sending them? Okay, waiting this up. Patrick Steams app. Okay. Yeah.
Oh,
Yes, I will
okay.
wait for
I think maybe another problem can be the fact that this one is. Let me change this, but that shouldn't be a problem.
But where is the RPC something that you said? I'm in the team app. Okay. Is it the same key here? I'm also in the demo.
So, what am I copying from Alchemy now?
Like test X Ultra.
Is it
This
Boeli
is
or
the demo.
Mainnet? The key I'm copying.
No, it's not in the demo.
Okay.
What's the key I'm copying from Alchemy?
Okay, so
This here, the API key, HTTPS WebSocket, or the API key.
Mm.
Musa, what key am I copying? Don't block your ear.
So it looks like I'm not able to access the Alchemy this thing. Even I can't just go to alchemy.com.
This, what am I copying from Alchemy?
The HTTPS.
Is it from the mainnet or testnet?
From the mainnet.
What of API key?
You don't need it.
So where am I putting that HTTPS?
In your .env.
.env. That means I have to create that .env file. Abi? New file.
So I don't know the reason why my alchemy.com is not going.
just all right. I want to hear something.
Hmm?
I want to
Okay.
I want to hear.
I don't understand the reason my alchemy.com is not going. So I guess that's the reason this thing is not it's not running. But is there anyone like doing it also over there? Is there anyone running it simultaneously over there?
Why don't you try it on another browser?
We are not using
You
browser.
mean why is the code not running? If to say if you put me through now, I'll go run am. I don't know where you get all those codes. And yeah, maybe I'm behind. I'm behind. Okay, this one. CD, enter, enter. I'm inside this place. Touch. So what's the name of the folder? Web3 what?
Can you meet and
I already know what to do now. See, instead of you to type the stress yourself like that, if some day we say, you know, if you just type them, like if you just go in GitHub